We're recording. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm not bad. It's we've had an okay week actually. We've had some good news in. We've might have won a big client, which we were halfway through a tender before all this kicked off. So that's now all but signed and sealed. So that's great. Things are starting to get a little busy, but yeah, nowhere near where we would normally be this time of year.
That's good. It's going to be slowly but surely getting back to normal, I think, isn't it?
It is. I think everybody hoped that it would be a bit sooner with the Boris's latest announcement, but I didn't ever think it would be a quick job, and I think we would be silly to make it a quick job. I think the worry is that the second blast would be that would literally kill people.
Yeah. Are you finding that what sort of percentage of your clients are back to work now?
Very little. So yeah, 10% if that. There's a couple of the larger clients are still going if they're in the food industry or hand sanitizer, but even one that supplies to one of the biggest food chains in the world isn't up and running yet. So there's still a lot to be opened up, which should be in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
We're like everybody. We're waiting for the news. I'm sure there's somebody somewhere that knows what's happening.
Can I just cut there a little bit? We just had a toilet flush in the background.
That's fine.
That might come through on the audio.
I'm waiting for one of the kids to burst through the door. If the door's shut, but it's a case that if they haven't spotted you in the last 10, 15 minutes,
yeah, that's it.
or they need the toilet.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I think it's not good placing. The joys of working from home is having to be as professional as possible, but also having to have your kids and family running around and doing things like shouting and flushing the toilets and stuff.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think I read something on not Facebook or LinkedIn, and it was said about that we're not actually working from home. We're trying to work from home because I see all the kids aren't at school. Everybody's at home, so it's a busy household.
Yeah.
But actually, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm going in once a week just to do payroll run through and do a few bits, collect the post, etc. But you're working from home full time. You're actually tech professionals are busier than ever. Is that right?
Yeah, well, we are. We've been sort of lucky in some senses that we were growing anyway. So we're a relatively young business. We've been going for about 4 years, and we've been growing a little bit year on year. So we're always having our busiest months to some sense because we're going through that.
That's got to feel good.
Well, it does. It's fantastic, and that's what I say. We're really lucky with how things have gone in certain respects, but it brings with it its own challenges, because we're bringing on new staff and just the whole processing of getting people paid. Because in essence, we're a recruitment company. We're the same as you, but we focus on slightly different kind of people. So we've got all the same problems, but obviously what's happened in the last few months has been completely like nothing we've ever seen before, and it's been a struggle to deal with it. One thing I think we're slightly different from Mayday is that I think you guys pay on a weekly basis and we pay on a monthly basis. So we've got all of that hassle, but only sort of once a month, which is hassle's the wrong word. We love paying our contractors, but it does take some admin to work it out. But of course, we've just had added complications because the contractors that work for us, a good majority of them actually work on ships and work at sea, and they're building offshore wind farms and they're laying subsea cables and all this kind of thing. And thankfully, we've been deemed, our industry has been deemed a key sector. So we've had the government support to allow us to keep working and what have you, which has been fantastic. But it's thrown some real difficult situations at us, because a lot of our contractors are working on ships in parts of the world where they just can't get off. So we might have sent them out to a job and told them, look, you're going to expect to go out for, say, 3-4 weeks at the end of January, and they're still there now, and there's no end in sight. And it's been really tricky.
Yeah, that's crazy to think, actually, because I think of my own home life, and I think that when I'm out of the house, whether it's whether it's popping into work or going out for a run, wherever it is, then B, my wife, for those that don't know, is at home looking after 3 kids, 8, 5, and 2.
Yeah,
and yeah, that's to then have, for example, your partner stuck out for what's going to be away for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then being told that this is an extended stay of 6, 7, 8 weeks in now?
Oh yeah, no. I think the longest we've got at the moment is, I think we've got a guy who's been out since the end of January. So what's that? February, March, April, May. 4 months. Yeah, 4 months they've been out for. And that guy, he's working in Indonesia, and in fact he's an Italian, and he's from Venice. And so he did say at the beginning, he said, because obviously it was hitting it quite badly in Italy at the time, he said, look, I'd rather stay here. If I'm on a ship in the middle of the sea and I'm not coming in to do any calls, then I'm in the safest place in the world. So he has been fine, although he obviously he's only packed 3 weeks worth of pants.
He'll be in a very odd situation where obviously he didn't see the start of it. Obviously, just talking about Italy and Venice, but he didn't see the start of it and how much has gone on since. And
it's amazing.
He'll come back and it'll be a bit mind-blowing.
A different world, exactly. And I think that's the reality. I think what we're talking about there is an extreme example of what's happening, but I think we're all going to have to get used to a different world at the end of this, really.
I must admit that's so it took me a long time to get into gear. So my job, and I'm sure yours as well, the work is driven at you. It's a case of you do as much as possible in the time that you've got, and then work as much extra as possible to kind of please as many people as possible, if you like. The work's always been driven at you. So that's what I found the hardest, is the change of gear from being reactive to proactive.
Yeah.
That's been difficult. I think I've found through years working at Mayday that I think quite a few people struggle with that. So we're very seasonal, and we have a peak time, albeit a long peak time, and then it dips off after Christmas into the new year. So January, February, and March is our slower months, and so it's actually been very probably similar to the hospitality industry, actually. So they have a slow winter, and if you like, where they make all their money is in the summer. So actually speaking to some people in the hospitality industry, it's not so much if they do manage to open up to anywhere near capacity before the end of the year, which that's in doubt, big doubt really, they won't be given the opportunity to make the money they need to get them through to the next summer. Consideration. But
it's putting a huge amount of pressure on businesses. I think this is the thing. I think while we're in the eye of the storm, it's one thing. I think everybody's focused on getting out the other side of it. But actually, I think what you kind of touched on there is really true, that it's what happens next that's the real challenge. It's because you're right. We're not just going to turn a tap on and it's going to get back to how it was. It's going to be a long, slow process. And the industry that we work in is the same, because we're quite seasonal as well. Because a lot of the work we do is in the North Sea, and so we tend to be much busier in sort of late spring through to sort of early autumn. At this point of the year, we'd normally be absolutely going crazy for work, but of course, at the moment, we've got people working, but it's nothing like what we would probably have expected if this wasn't going on. So yeah.
It is a bit. So we're majority industrials, manufacturing, that kind of thing, and that's all up in the air. What's going to happen? Is the supply going to be there? Import, export. What's all of this needs? All of this needs to be sorted out or made a little clearer before. I suppose a lot of the businesses are looking at getting their workforce back.
I think Banbury is in an interesting position because it's such a distribution hub, isn't it? Because of where it is, you'd like to think that whatever happens in the world, people still need their stuff delivered one way or another. They still need their burger buns, they still need their chocolates and all this kind of stuff, which is the stuff that we do in Banbury in general. So you'd like to think that at least the demand is there for Banbury as an area to get back on its feet fairly quickly.
Yeah, if you ask Amazon, the demand's there. They must be absolutely flying.
Oh,
well, they've been flying constantly anyway, but more so than usual.
Yeah, yes, yeah, indeed.
If obviously nobody actually knows what's how it's going to return, how quickly it's going to return, what's going to change, but so you actually started the business from home. So if you like, you've been trained to work home. Because knowing you for quite a while, I know it wasn't easy initially because you came from firstly a small growing business in the offshore oil and gas industry in Subserve Pro that grew to be a bit of a giant locally or internationally really. There were but then worked for the corporation that bought Subserve. So you very much experienced the kind of the small business and the big business side, and then made the leap. It is a big leap of faith, although everybody that knew you would have said that they would have put not put the house on you. You had to do that.
Yeah, I wish they would.
Yeah, but no, it was a big jump. But you had to train yourself from going into the busy environment every day to working by yourself initially from home.
Yeah, it was a big change. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, well, it's very kind of you to say, firstly, but yeah, no, it's it's exactly as you said. So we worked for a company that was essentially a startup, really, and worked there for about 10 years, and we got quite a lot bigger. And we got bought out, as a lot of smaller companies do. We got bought out by a large corporate sort of organisation, a Dutch company, and I have to admit they were great. They're a great company, and I was happy working for them. But I think the corporate environment is very different, and I really enjoyed working for a smaller company, and I enjoyed the challenges of growing a business, which you don't necessarily get so much in a corporate entity because you're already at that kind of level. And so that's why I took the decision to start on my own. And yeah, you're right. It was actually, that was quite a big culture shock for me to go from office. I mean, we were literally, I think there was probably 25 of us maybe in the office at the peak, or maybe even more, maybe 30. That. And it was there's a real buzz to the office. I think anybody that had come in, felt there's a real sort of atmosphere and an energy to it. And then to suddenly go from that to working in my house on my own with just me, and occasionally the cat would sort of walk over the keyboard and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Being in recruitment, you enjoy speaking to people, you enjoy interaction. That's what you kind of thrive on.
No, it's true. Yeah, that's exactly right. Recruitment's a people business, and so to suddenly go from that and just go right, literally just me and my keyboard, my phone, just to go right, what are we going to do? We need to drum up some business and all this kind of thing. But it's been tricky, and by no means it's been it hasn't been a sort of a walk in the park. But actually, 4 years down the line, we're really moving on, and despite all of this that's going on in the world, we seem to be sticking on a bit. I'm no longer at home. We've got an office in South Bar in Banbury.
Nice office as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and we've got some great staff, and we're starting to employ some local people as well in the Banbury area. And long may it continue. Really, so yeah. Yeah,
so obviously we know each other, so I kind of I keep up to date with the growth, and some of the people that you've got working for you are really, really good. So that's the crucial thing about the growth. It was clear that. Very sorry. Hold on. Just can't do the video thing. Hello, Dad. Can I give you a call back in a moment? All right. Speak to you in a bit. Bye.
Again.
Okay.
Joyce,
when you go into a meeting, remember to put your phone on silent first rule, or turn it off completely. Sorry. But actually, the key, in fact, this goes well to promote recruitment industry in general, but that is the key to any business, is bringing in the right components to help grow, because not every person will be as invested in the company as you or the owners, but it's about getting people that are on the same wavelength and bought into the what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
You don't expect for them to take the troubles home with them and have the odd sleepless night, as I'm sure kind of well, I hope I'm not the only one that does, worrying about stuff. But, you do expect them to be kind of fighting for the cause.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they are, for sure. And you know how important it is to have the right members of the team, and exactly what you say. You know, whatever business you've got to get the right components. And as it happens, recruitment is all about the people, really, isn't it? You know, but it's all about your contractors, your workers, the people working for you. But it's also all about your team, your staff as well. So yeah, you've got to get the right people. So, exactly the same way that you have at Mayday.
Yeah, and we've been very fortunate to have. If you go through, I won't kind of go through them all individually, but they are all so bloody good. They bring so much to the table and it's been a mix, and it's always been that way. When you have a group of people of any size, it's the mix. I always go to the football analogy. So you can't have 11 Lionel Messis on the field. Well, you can, but they'll be atrocious at defending corners. It'll
be terrible.
I don't know which one to put the gloves on either. Actually, and Lionel Messi, he's probably a demon in between the posts as well. Yeah. So we've got a great bunch. I think I look at the team, and I think it's the best we've had.
Awesome.
We're really looking forward to a supersonic year this year. So it's hopefully we can do its best industry and environment. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no, well, I hope so too.
Just obviously you're working from home. Things are very busy, so you're getting stuff done. You're getting your contractors paid. Everything's still on track. Having worked from home, obviously you've got experience. You're good at working from home. Is the rest of the team, what kind of feedback have you got from them? Because some of those guys may not have had the experience of doing it.
Yeah. Do you know what? They've adapted really, really well. We worried a little bit, to be honest, because you are right. Even though I've worked from home, I was working from home on my own. But actually, we really do. I think in not just in recruitment, but in a lot of sort of jobs that are office and phone based, you really feed off each other's energy.
Yeah.
And you bounce ideas off each other, and there's something unquantifiable about being in the same room with somebody that's got a real passion and ability and talent for what you do. And so there was a worry that we might lose a little bit of that. But I have to say, all the whole team have adapted just really well. We spend, like I'm sure every other company that's doing this kind of thing in the country, we spend a huge chunk of the day chatting to each other on Teams or on Zoom or something like that. So we can we don't necessarily do it on video calls the whole time, because that means you've got to brush your hair and things like that. So,
is that?
That's it.
I told you it's freshly shaved for my appearance today.
It looks very. I'm very jealous of you, because I feel like a bit of a yeti, but
I must admit, I would. I'd probably go with your haircut over mine, especially when the sun's shining. There's no protection.
Oh well, that's true.
In fact, see that?
What's that?
That is because normally the average person with hair, the hair acts as like a sensor before you're just about to walk into the side of your shed. And fortunately, there was no sensor there to stop me, and I think I even bashed it so hard. I think I chipped a little bit of tooth as well.
Oh my goodness! I didn't know it's such a health risk having no hair.
Yeah, well, it can be. But I was stood by Stanley when I was doing it, so I was trying my best not to say some loud.
Give him an education in language. Oh, well done, crikey! Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Wow.
You say, obviously we're chatting on Zoom at the moment. Have you used any tech that you haven't done?
Yeah, well, we had Teams, but we didn't really use it so much because we're not a huge office, and we're all, if we want to talk to each other, we just sort of shout, and so we didn't really have the need for it. But actually, it's coming to its own, Teams, and then just with other things. So one of our, I'd say probably our second biggest client are based in Milan, and obviously they've been in lockdown for a long time, and we have been doing meetings via Zoom. And do you know what? It's one thing that's really interesting is because in our job, and I guess you'd be the same. A lot of the time, an issue might arise, and you go, right, I've got to go and have a meeting. And so you get in the car, or in our case, sometimes you have to get on a plane to see these people, and you've written out a day or maybe 2 days because it's that far and all this kind of thing. And it's just made me realise that what have we been doing all this time? We could have just got on a call, and it's just as I think you do lose maybe something, but for what you gain in terms of the time that you save and the money that you save to get it done, it just makes me think. And I think companies up and down the country will be really thinking hard about how they conduct their business, because this is great,
Well, not only the obvious, so the financial and the time for going to meetings, etc., but also the environment. So if you're jumping on a plane, etc., all these are going to be thrown in.
Yeah.
I actually mentioned in Venice, and that you saw the pictures of the Venice canals. Weren't there dolphins in there, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Really clear water and stuff like that. I mean, I've noticed it. We're in a fairly small village, not far outside of Banbury, same as yourself, and you can't help but notice it when you go out in the evening, and there's just no noise. There's nothing. There's no cars, and it's like, oh my God, this is what it's supposed to be like. We're chugging the place up with diesel fumes and all this kind of thing. So it's kind of, and not to say that I'm not guilty of it myself, but it just makes you. I think everybody's taking the time to go like, wow, what do we need to do all of this? Do we need to be sort of legging it around in planes and cars and all that? And the answer to that a lot of the time is no, we don't.
I think that's the two biggest things I think is going to, well, the emergence of tech obviously is the use of Zoom, the use of video is it's gone through the roof. You've got the travel. Is this much travel essential? It's not essential. I'm a big believer in face-to-face. There's nothing that would, for me, it's always a priority is face-to-face, if not the phone, if not email. So I really like a face-to-face meeting. I think you get a feel for things. You can talk through business, and then you can actually go on to kind of build up a bit of a relationship beyond that. So I do value face-to-face. I'm a big believer. But I realise that some of it is a bit different. And I suppose the purpose that I use face-to-face meetings for it may be a bit different. There's somebody that would usually work from home and just pop in for a catch-up. I don't know. It's everybody's got an opinion on that. And the other one is office space. You say you moved from working from home to having a nice office in Banbury.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a big expense for you. That's a big outlay. And can you achieve the same thing without it? I'm a believer in having that shared work environment, because you do get a better build of an environment where you're all.
I think so. I think it's a tricky one because I think that. Sorry, just had something flash up. Talking about how brilliant technology is. I've just had something flash up to tell me we've got more minutes. So I think that. I think that's right, and I agree with you that actually you do need somewhere to work. I don't think on the back of this we would suddenly be saying, right, no, we all need to work from home now. But I certainly think in terms of like expansion, so maybe in a couple of years' time, we might have thought, oh, do you know what, we're outgrowing our office here, so let's go and spend more money and get a bigger office to get all these people in. Whereas actually now, you know, maybe think about, well, I wonder if people can hot desk, or if you can be a bit more flexible on hours. You know, does it make sense that everybody's coming to the office at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and then going home at 5:30, when actually maybe we can get people working from home one day or not, you know, and so saving money on an office, but allowing people to have a more flexible approach to their work.
Yeah.
And I think some of that stuff was already coming into play, to be honest, but I think what this has done is acted as a bit of a catalyst to say, actually, we can physically do it. We can, you know, I think there's been a bit of an old school sort of maybe management theory that you have to have your people and you have to be able to eyeball them and see where they are, and they have to clock in at 9 o'clock in the morning, clock out at 5 o'clock, and if they don't, they're being devious and trying to steal time from them. But I think actually what this has uncovered for people is that that's not the case. People want to work, people want to do a good job, and they want to put in a good shift. And what you should maybe be looking at monitoring from your staff is not how many hours they're sat staring at a screen. It's what is the output. Are they getting the jobs done that you're requiring them to do? And if they are, and they can do it from home, or if they do it like at 8 o'clock at night once the kids are in bed, but they've had the day to do stuff with them because that works better for them, then maybe that's the way to approach things.
Well, certainly, yeah. Like you say, at their convenience, and not about just if they can do it quicker and then bunk off. It may just actually for a better work-life balance. It may be that they need to get the kids down and then focus on a few hours of work, and they can do it in different chunks. Because
exactly,
we use or we lose a massive chunk of the very skilled, very talented workforce. Through raising children, and if there can be more flexibility to get those skills and that experience back in, I think that's a big win. So that's where I see the
100% agree. Yeah.
So how long have we been talking for?
Well, it just said 40 minutes. So, but that's just whipped by, hasn't it?
I did ask you for I thought let's have a quick 20-minute chat, and then.
Sure. I told you, we're naturals. There's no way we're going to keep under 20 minutes.
Well, I had thought we'd go through
for less time.
I thought we were going to go through a few more bits, but in fact, we could maybe save for another chat.
Week or something. I've got if you've got other things to do, then fine. I've got more. I have.
Well, that wasn't trying to get rid of you, but yeah. No, if it's okay with you, if we do another one next week, because I had a few more bits. We can go through them, save them for next time.
Definitely.